Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pushing the Envelope Farm, where today we're going to be doing some paper making and making seed balls. Both are easy to do with supplies you already have in your kitchen. There might be one or two things that you need to find and add to be able to do this at home. So let's start with the paper making. We're not starting out there by going out and getting a tree and doing all that work. We're taking paper that might be in our house already in the recycling bin and giving it another life and making a beautiful art project out of it. Not only are we taking this tree, giving it a new paper form, we can actually put seeds inside the paper and plant that piece of paper out in the garden and see if we get some wildflowers out of it as well. Another project that we have is we can also make seed balls, which look like delicious chocolate truffles, but let me assure you they're not. These are seed balls, which are a mixture of soil and clay mixed together with wildflower seeds that are great for chucking in the garden or on a walk in a wildflower area to give a little bit of native seeds a chance to grow and make the world a little bit more of a beautiful place. So this workshop is all about giving second life and new life to things. Let's start with the paper making. For paper making, we're going to be using just a standard blender and paper that we find in our recycling bin. You can use anything you'd like. I've got some old printer paper, but newspaper works well as for this project. I like adding a little bit of colored paper. Maybe you have some construction paper or any other kind of colored paper to add when we do the blender. And that will give the whole new batch of paper a bright color. You can experiment with less or more as you see fit. So to make the paper, we're just going to tear strips of paper apart. Great activity and preparation for the kids to do. I will just tear a couple, but I don't want to do this all day for you guys. But you just tear it up, tear it into small pieces, and add it to your blender. Now, a key thing when you're making your paper here is not to overload the blender. You want it to be pretty soupy, pretty watery. So for one blender, normal blender size, I'm going to add about 3 to 4 sheets of paper max. So you can always, we're going to be straining it later on. So there's going to be more water. So let me just finish cutting up the paper here. This is 2 sheets of white paper and 1 sheet of blue. So I'm just cutting it up a little thick here. And there we go. And I'll spread this out. And now I'm going to add some warm water. The warm water will allow the paper to break, the fibers to break down a little bit more easily. If you soaked it in some cold water for an hour or two, or even overnight, it'll do the same thing. But warm water helps that process out. I'm just going to fill the blender up. Again, you want plenty of water for the paper to break down. And then I'm going to put it on the slow speed here on the grinder and the blender and just let it break down. Excuse the noise for 1 minute. You can see it's already coming together. The blue is breaking down and the fibers are blending. And like that, you've already got your paper pulp. So a very simple process. We take this blue, this nice color blue, and I'm going to add it to a little tote. This is some that I made earlier of the blue, and I'm going to add a little bit more into this tote. If you're doing just one color paper, you can really just add it right from here into the process. But if you want to have multiple colors, then we're going to have different different bins for each color. I'm going to show you a piece of paper I made in preparation where I just mixed together a few different colors. So you can choose, and you can make this as large or as small as you'd like. One of the things we'll see later on is, maybe this edge came out a little sloppy, so you just want to trim it up. And you can trim this up and make a nice card to send to a family member. And I'm sure they would love to receive your handmade paper. So just trimming it up a little bit, and we can even do a little bit more. But here is the paper that we're making. So simple supplies. Let me go over what else we'll need other than the blender. We're going to need, this is probably the one thing you might not have laying around at home. This is simple window screen, put around a picture frame. I just stapled it there. And it's as simple as that. You can also buy one online, already made, but if you have an old picture frame around, you can just staple it or nail it or glue it, any way to fix the screen on a little frame. So I'll show you the different colors that I made. And then we can get started, and I'll show you the process. So we've got red, the orange, the green, and the blue. We'll just take a mug or a cup, anything that you'd like, and over the sink or outside, anywhere that can get wet, you can take a scoop of your delicious paper pulp, which we're not trying, but we will add to our screen. And you pour it on. You'll see that some areas get a little bit better coverage, some might get a little bit less, and you might need to fill in as it goes. I feel like making a blue sheet with a red border. So that's what I'm going to do right now. But feel free to experiment, try any shape you'd like, any kind of paper design. It's just dripping down through that screen. And then later on, we're going to take some of the water out of this before we bring it to the next stage. So I will attempt to show you. It's dripping a little bit, but you can see here's the wet paper pulp on here. And don't worry about the loose edges. We'll fix that later on, like you saw with the scissors once it's dry. So I like that design. I see that there's a little bit, I'm not going to show you totally because I might, but it's a little bit thin over here. I'm going to add a little bit more blue pulp. And as you get to be a real expert in this, you can add, you can make it thinner, you can make it thicker, and how you'd like. So a little bit more blue pulp. Perfect. Next, we'll take just a regular kitchen sponge, and we're going to be taking away some of the water from this, from the underside. You just run your sponge underneath it, and squeeze it out. You run it underneath it, squeeze it out, and this is pulling some of the excess moisture out. So this will help get the paper ready to transfer to cardboard, where it's going to dry. Now, Judaism has a really neat relationship with trees. They're seen as something special. The Garden of Eden was filled with all kinds of fruit trees that were delicious, and we were supposed to eat from all of them, except for one, that we weren't. But it says before that we're not supposed to eat from one, it says all the other ones we're supposed to enjoy. So we have a special relationship, and trees are a gift in our lives. I know that I love this time of year in the springtime, where we get flowering trees outside, the flowering cherries and the apple trees. And soon enough, hopefully, we'll get some fruits as well. Here at Pushing the Envelope Farm, we planted around 30 fruit trees this year, and we're really hoping that they all succeed and that we get some beautiful fruits in the years to come. So that looks dry enough for our next stage. I pulled out, you can see some of the moisture. I can now hold it up. It's still got a gloss, you can see. It's still very wet, but it might be dry enough for our next stage. So the next thing we're going to do is take a piece of cardboard and you just cut up a box, and we'll need a bunch of these, one for each piece of paper. So you make it big enough to cover your whole piece of paper. Turn it over. And now we're going to take that same sponge, and now pressing into it, we're going to remove more water. Once we remove enough water, we can start peeling away the screen from the paper underneath it. So we're just pressing and blotting away some of the moisture, squeezing our sponge. And let's see if we're there yet. I think it might need just another second. Okay. So you'll see here, if I can pull it away, I'm just going to try and separate it and slowly pull it away. I'm sort of using my finger to tease it. And let's see how it did. Put this away for now. And that was pretty good. So that is my first sheet of the day. And we're just going to put that either out in a sunny spot, or it can even just be put on a shelf somewhere. You just want to prevent it from getting in the rain or anything like that. But this will take about a day or so to dry. Now, I'll just leave that over here for a moment. After your page is dry, it will look something like this. This is on the cardboard itself. It's pretty stuck down. So I like taking like a butter knife or something not sharp, but just trying to peel underneath and get a little edge and sort of work your way back and forth, trying to get the paper off of the cardboard. Let's see how we do with this one. Not bad. So here was, 3 stripes of different color paper. You see you've got a smooth side, maybe that's a little bit easier to write on, and a little bit rougher, more natural side. So again, like the other sheet, we can trim it up however we'd like. You can make shapes out of it. You can do cards. You can do decorations. Just give it a bit of a trim, and you can save those little scraps and make paper again. Now, blending colors, you might get a different color, but you can mix together. Like, what would happen if we mix some of the blue and some of the red? We could get some purple color paper as well. So if you didn't have purple paper to start with, just do some blending and mix together whatever you'd like. So now we've got our nice card to send to somebody. A couple things you can add to this to make it extra special. You can add some seeds. So I've got here some wildflower shade mix. Now, you can use any kind of wildflower seed, hopefully native plants, so we can help build the native wildflower community. And I'm going to add a little bit of this to the pulp that goes on the next screen. So I'll just give you a little bit of a look to that. Let's see. I will do green and orange paper this time. I put my screen over the sink so that the initial water drips down. And if this seems particularly thick at any point, add a little bit more water. It's really not something you can screw up. You just add more to make it nice and soupy, like a nice split pea soup, but not like super like congealed. You want it to be nice and soupy. So I did a little bit of green, and now I'm going to do a row of orange. And you can add the seeds before, or you can add them now. And I'm going to add them in, and then put a little bit more. I'm going to sandwich this between a layer of pulp. But you can just mix that in right into your bin as well. It's up to you. So I'll add a little bit more green on top. And then a little bit more orange. And we'll repeat that same process that you just saw. So now you guys are all experts. We're going to just do the same process of pulling out the extra moisture. So we take our sponge underneath it. We squeeze. You can see how much water came out of that. And that's good. Squeeze, etc. We were talking a little bit earlier about the Jewish relationship with trees. We say that Eitz Chaim Hi, the Torah is a tree of life, a tree that continues to grow and blossom and new branches, and we're all part of those branches that continue. It's that relationship with trees that we see that people are a little bit like trees. We grow year after year and bring branches and new ideas and new parts of our life come. And hopefully we have fruitful lives and we're able to contribute to others around us. So now that we've squeezed this a little bit, I think this one might be ready to put on another cardboard. Here is my paper in its raw form. I've got my cardboard. And again, a 1, 2, a 3, and we flip it. The same thing again, you just blot it out. Blot it. That time I did something a little different. Okay, let's see if this is ready to peel apart. Oh, does it need more time? So it's sticking a little bit, but you can sort of use your finger to try and get it up. Okay, well that worked. We've got the paper ready to go. Now, I tried an experiment, and I encourage you to try an experiment with this at home as well. And we're going to see how it turned out, all right? Yesterday, when I was making some paper, before I flipped it onto the sheet of paper, or to the cardboard rather, I put a leaf right in the middle of the paper. So we're going to see what kind of pattern it made, and hopefully, if it's something cool, it's something I'll try again. So the way I did this, I made the normal paper, I put a leaf on the cardboard, and then I flipped it on. So let's see if it peels away. Is towards the camera. So the same thing like always. Little butter knife. And I got a little bit cut there. That's all right. We can always trim it up. Okay. Okay. So peeled away. You can see the leaf that's underneath there. If we peel that away, you can see we've got a neat little leaf print. And you can make sort of a leaf print like you could make a leaf rubbing with a crayon. Well, we can make a leaf print of the different leaves in our neighborhood or in our garden. So here was a little bit of a sweet potato vine that I've got growing here at the house. And I took one of the leaves and I made the little imprint. You can put pieces of grass, flowers, try it out, see what works for you. And I didn't mix in seeds to this piece of paper, but isn't it neat that we can take something out of old trees, we give it a new life, we put in a piece of a leaf imprint, and we can have seeds in it. So there's a lot of life bound up in this little piece of paper. So that is a little bit of the paper making process. Let me just take a look around, see if I forgot anything with it. You can do a plain colored paper, colored, thicker, thinner. You can be the artist in your kitchen. All you need is this little screen called a decal, and you just need a little place to get a little messy. Okay, so that's paper making. One of the most famous stories of a paper or of a guy that liked trees in the Jewish tradition was Honi, the circle maker. He was called Honi the circle maker, and he could make a circle outside, and he could ask for rain. Now all of us can ask for rain, but whenever Honi would ask, God would provide rain. And one time, Honi fell asleep for a long time. He fell asleep for 70 years. And before he fell asleep, he saw somebody planting a carob tree, an old guy planting a carob tree. And carob trees take a really long time to grow and to produce carobs, the little fruit that they make. So Honi said to the old guy, "How come you're planting this carob tree? Won't it take a long time to grow and you won't be around anymore?" And the old man said, "It's not for me, it's for the next generation, because I inherited a world with beautiful fruit trees and things like carob trees. I feel the need to give that gift to the next generation." Honi fell asleep for 70 years and wakes up, and then he sees the carob tree, a big tree where there was just a sapling before. And he understands the need to provide and plant and do things for the future. As one of my friends said to me about planting trees, he was planting some fruit trees and his neighbor came in and said, "Isn't it going to take a long time for that apple to make to make fruit? 5, 6, 7 years?" And my friend said, "Yes, it is going to take that time." And the neighbor said, "But that's a long time to wait." And my friend said, "Well, I'm going to be waiting either way. Might as well have something to look forward to." So we have looking forward to the apple trees and when they come into fruit. So I'm going to put away our paper making. We've done a good job with taking the pulp and making our different colored paper. And we're going to move over to our seed balls. Now, seed balls started as sort of a way to sneakily make the world more beautiful. And where are they? Oh, here they are. Again, a really simple method. You don't need to go into a garden and start tilling it and planting and watering it all like that. This is rather a stealth way of having a little seed ball. You could have it in your pocket. And at the right moment where you see an area that looks like it might be able to grow some wildflowers, where you think the world might need a little more beauty, you can chuck it in, and it can, and hopefully these seeds will grow. So let's get the ingredients together for that. To make seed balls, it's a really simple recipe. Again, things you have maybe in your kitchen, maybe you'll need to buy 1 or 2 of these things. So we're going to use 4 ingredients. We're going to be using some, let me grab a spoon, and then I'll go through it. We're going to be using some potting soil. You could use garden soil. This is just a bag of potting soil that I had out in the garden. Now, for this recipe, you can play with it. I'm going to use 5 spoons of soil. Big spoonfuls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't have to be super precise with this, but 5 parts of the potting soil, and then some clay powder. You can get all different kinds of clay powder. But we're just going to add 1 or 2 spoons of this. We just want this to hold together now so that we can toss it where we'd like it. But then when the rain hits it, it's going to break down and become part of the soil, and the seeds will have something special to help them grow. So 2 spoonfuls of the clay. And our trusty wildflower mix. I'll give about a half spoon of this. You don't need a lot, but you're just getting your seeds in there. And then enough water. We've got the 3 different ingredients, enough water to bring it together. So first, let's mix it up. Okay. And now we're going to add a little bit of water. To our seed mix. Just a little bit at a time. You want to be able to make a little ball out of it. I'm going to start using my hand because that's more fun. Add a little bit more water because it was not clumping together so much. And when it starts to clump together, then we mix it all together to the same consistency. And we can start rolling our balls. Now, if you've ever made a dumpling or a matzo ball, it's sort of similar. We're taking it, we're pressing it together, and we're making, again, our little truffle. Looks like a chocolate truffle. Please don't try them. I'm going to put it on a piece of cardboard just because that's what I have around. But you can put it on a baking sheet or anything else. So we're mixing it together, making our little seed balls. This is a good way to get wildflower seeds into the environment. And once they're there, hopefully they'll be able to establish themselves and continue growing. Let's see, we'll do the last couple. Okay, I'm going to wash my hands. So that is our workshop for today. You've learned how to make seed balls. Those might need a couple days to get dry enough. But then you can keep them in your pocket or go out on a special walk to an area and throw them in. To make some paper where you can make your own special paper with different leaf prints, with seeds in it mixed in, all different things to give paper new life. This is a good activity to bring a little bit of life into the world. So I thank you for joining me here at Pushing the Envelope Farm. And I hope you have a lot of fun making these things in your kitchen or in your home. And enjoy. And I hope it brightens your day a little bit.